Hey everyone, I'm back with the last devotion of the week, and since tomorrow is Saturday, I'm going to take a Sabbath day, and then I'm going to send out a link for all youth to join me for another brief Zoom hangout Sunday evening at 7:30. So stay tuned at the end of this video for some quick announcements. This week has been all about transformation as Jesus journeys with his disciples to Jerusalem and ultimately to the cross. I invite you to read chapters 10 through 19 in the Gospel of Luke for some more stories about Jesus' experience as he traveled. You can read a lot about Jesus' parables like the prodigal son, and you can even read some stories that you probably never talk about in Sunday school because, to be honest, they're a little bit weird. But today, I want us to think about a story in Luke chapter 13 when Jesus heals a crippled woman. When he does so, he angers the leader of the local synagogue because it happened to be the Sabbath, and you're not really supposed to do anything on the Sabbath. We can't get too annoyed with the synagogue leader, though, because it was his job to make sure that his community was reading and following God's law. Remembering the Sabbath, as you probably remember, is one of the 10 Commandments, which all the other laws are based on. If you turn back to Exodus chapter 35, it says in verse 2, 6 days shall work be done, but on the 7th day you shall have a holy Sabbath of solemn rest to the Lord. Whoever does any work on it shall be put to death. And you can find other rules about keeping the Sabbath as a day of rest in many places in the Old Testament. But I want you to remember, the Sabbath is holy and you're not supposed to work. So here's Jesus healing a crippled woman on the Sabbath within sight of the synagogue leader. Why is Jesus breaking this central commandment? Does he consider healing another person not to be working? Well, first, let's think about the woman who kind of takes a back seat in the story, even though Jesus performs this miraculous healing on her. We don't really know her name, but we only know that she suffered from a spinal deformity for 18 years. The story says she had a spirit that crippled her. And that's an important detail because people in Jesus' time looked at other people like this woman who had deformities and other defects as being punished by God for their sinfulness or the sinfulness of their parents. Talk about unfair. People stayed away from cripples like this woman. They weren't really wanted in society. But Jesus heals her. And the story actually says he laid hands on her, which might or might not be a significant detail. You see, Jesus was a rabbi, and it was sometimes frowned upon for rabbis to even talk to women who weren't a part of their own family, at least not on a formal occasion. For Jesus to actually touch her might have put him in deeper trouble than he already was. But Jesus turns the situation around on his accusers. He points out that they all do a little task of some kind on the Sabbath, like taking your animals to the watering hole. You simply have to do that or your animals will die. And Jesus' point was that he was trying to teach everyone present that they needed to transform how they interpreted God's law, because God's law was about taking care of each other, loving each other, setting people free from sin. Jesus even says in Luke 13:16, ought not this woman be set free from this bondage on the Sabbath day? Jesus invites us to transform the way we look at our faith in this story too. How often do we let what we think is a rule from God keep us from showing compassion to others? So I invite you to read Luke 13:10 through 17 with your family, and then talk about some times when you thought you should have shown kindness to someone, but maybe you didn't because you thought it went against something God told you to do. And then list some safe ways that you might overcome your fear to show kindness to someone. Sunday is Palm Sunday, which means next week is Holy Week. And so next week, I'll share some devotions on Jesus' last few moments before the cross. Wednesday, we'll have another Together worship service. And Thursday, Hayes Barton will broadcast a special Maundy Thursday service. So stay tuned for more announcements about that. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay home if you're able. And feel free to share this video devotion with your tribe. I'll see you soon.